One of the questions that I'm asked a lot is, what is prayer? Oftentimes people in the pew, oftentimes priests themselves, have a real desire for God and have a real desire to grow deeper in their relationship with God, especially through prayer. And it's really important for us to kind of wrap our minds around that question, what is prayer? For so many of us, we were taught how to pray, or we were taught how to say our prayers when we were kids. Prayers like the Our Father or the Hail Mary and the Glory Be were the real stuff of our early catechesis in prayer, but as we got older, many of us didn't learn how to pray as adults. And as we reach the seasons in our life where we really need God or we desire more from God, a lot of the times the structures of our early childhood, the structures of the prayers that we said when we were kids, don't really satiate the desire in our hearts, especially as adults. So what is prayer? A lot of times people think that prayer is something that they have to do. And certainly our initiative and certainly our spiritual discipline is important. But it's really important for us to ground ourselves in a Christian posture or a Christian anthropology, a Christian lens through which we can look at prayer. And the Catechism defines prayer. In number 2567, in the Catechism we read that God calls man first, that man may forget his Creator or hide far from His face. He may run after idols or accuse God of having abandoned him. But the living and true God tirelessly calls each person to that mysterious encounter known as prayer. In prayer, God's initiative of love always comes first. Our own first step is always a response. That's good news. That's from the Catechism. The Church herself is reminding all of us of a couple key things when it comes to prayer. Number one, that God calls us first. And God not only calls us, but God never gets tired of calling us. Regardless of whether we forget God or hide far from His face, regardless of whether we accuse God of having abandoned us or run after the idols in our lives, God never gets tired of reaching out to us and calling us. So the first thing we want to remember is that God's initiative always comes first. Secondly, the Catechism says that prayer is an encounter with God. That when you and I sit down to pray, whether our experience tells us that we feel alone or we feel dry or nothing's happening, the truth is this, that God got there before we did. Before you sat down in the chapel to pray, before you eased into your lazy boy to pray, God arrived first. God is there first. His presence was there before we got there. And so finally, the Catechism says that prayer is simply a response to a God who is taking the initiative, who is tirelessly reaching out to us, and who wants us to simply receive from His heart. So essentially what the Church tells us is that prayer is a response in relationship to a God who is desperate to be in relationship with us. My encouragement for all of us as we pray is to perhaps look at the Catechism, perhaps linger in number 2567 from the Catechism. Let yourself just linger there and let the Lord speak to you as He desires to share His heart with you. God bless.